Congratulations, you've completed the course. What I want to do right now is just take a minute and review everything that you've learned up to now. We've really covered a lot in this course. We started off theoretically. Now, that may have been a little bit intimidating for you, but I think we got through it. In session 1, we learned about how we get energy from the food that we eat, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And ultimately, it's all about creating ATP. And that is really the currency for energy in the human body, and it's what powers muscle contraction. But we don't have that much of it in the human body, and we gotta regenerate more. And we talked about the systems in sessions 2, 3, and 4 that allow us to generate more ATP and allow us to continue contracting our muscles. In session 2, we focused on the ATP-PCr system, and that system is responsible for creating a lot of ATP very quickly, and it's very important in MMA because it powers big explosive movements like takedown attempts. In session 3, we talked about anaerobic glycolysis, and that helps us perform sustained movements, powerful movements, but it's really associated with the buildup of a lot of metabolic byproducts that can actually impair our performance. So it's really not the most important system in MMA. In session 4, we talked about how we create ATP aerobically, and that is the most important system in MMA, and we really want to focus on that one. In sessions 5, we talked about aerobic fitness and the importance of developing it. In session 6, we talked about your anaerobic threshold. And both the VO2 max and your anaerobic threshold are really, really important in mixed martial arts. But the anaerobic threshold, it's very important. And that really dictates how hard you can work without dipping into those anaerobic energy systems. So it's a pretty good predictor of MMA performance, and that's what we want to focus on. And after session 6, the course kind of took a little bit of a turn. We started to apply a lot of the concepts that we really talked about in the first half of this course. We talked about low intensity training and high intensity training, and hopefully I convinced you that low intensity training, if you do it, you may be impairing your strength and power gains. But if you're to engage in high intensity endurance training, then it's not going to be associated with the same reductions in power output, but you're still going to be able to improve your power and strength. You're still going to be able to improve your aerobic fitness, your VO2 max, your anaerobic threshold, all those things. So I hope that I convinced you that high intensity interval training is the way to go. The next thing that we focused on in session 8 was actually how you target those energy systems, how you target the ATP-PCr system, which can allow you to be more powerful, how you target anaerobic glycolysis, which can help you tolerate working in a highly acidic metabolic environment, and then most importantly, how you target aerobic energy metabolism, which really, if you can do that well, you're going to be able to perform at a high intensity over the course of a whole round and over the course of a whole fight. But it's not enough to know how to train each of those energy systems. You need to know how to train them in mixed martial arts. You need to know how to fit it in across your whole fight plan. And really to know that, you have to have a fight plan, you have to know what it is. And that's all about periodization. So we taught you how to organize your fight plan. And then in the last session, in session 10, we took all of those specific workouts with all the different work to rest ratios, all the different work intervals and rest intervals, and all the different movement patterns, all the specifics and all the example workouts that we showed you in session 8, and we showed you how to program it in across your fight plan in session 10. So I hope that you got a lot out of this course. But what I want to do now is just let you know where this course fits into your overall performance, because there's a lot of things that influence your MMA performance, not just your endurance. Your performance in the cage, it's going to be influenced by a lot of different factors. It's going to be influenced by how flexible you are. You know, there's certain techniques that I could never perform and other people could, and I was definitely at a disadvantage, so I had to work on my flexibility to try to perform some of those techniques. Your technique and skill, this is probably one of the biggest factors that will influence how you perform in the cage. You can be strong, but if you don't have the technique, then you're probably not going to be successful in the sport. Tactics, it's very important. If you have all the skill, all the strength, everything else, and you don't know how to deploy them properly, if you don't have proper coaching, then you're going to have a difficult time winning. Psychology, I've seen so many fighters who seemingly had it all, but they bottled it right before the fight, or they went out and they had their face smashed in for a round and they couldn't muster up the strength to go back out there and do it again. Having said that, I've seen a lot of fighters who have had their face smashed in for a whole round. They get up and they go back out and they have the mental strength to go and win. So psychological skills, once you get to a certain level, it's really what separates fighters. nutrition. And when I talk about nutrition, I'm talking about the food that you eat and how that contributes to your weight and how that contributes to the category that you're fighting in. And that's a pretty important factor in MMA performance, how you manage your weight. And then you have strength and power. If you're strong, if you're powerful, then this can sometimes compensate for a lack of technique or a lack of other areas. Or if you have all those other areas, this can maybe set you apart from someone else who you have equal technique with. The ability to move fast and then stop, change direction, and move fast again. It's really important in mixed martial arts. And then you have endurance. And that's what we really focused on in this particular course. We focused on anaerobic endurance. And we focused on a little bit on your pace. And we really focused on aerobic endurance as well, because that's really what you want to develop. And there's a whole bunch of things we learned about in endurance and these subcategories. We learned the different types of anaerobic endurance. We learned about your ATP-PCr system, and we learned about anaerobic glycolysis. And over on the aerobic side, we learned about your anaerobic threshold and how important that is. If you can have a high anaerobic threshold, then it'll allow you to work at a high intensity without dipping into the anaerobic energy systems, which can cause a buildup of metabolic byproducts that ultimately impairs your performance. We learned about your VO2 max, which is your body's maximal ability to take in oxygen, which is going to be pretty highly correlated with performance. And your VO2 max, we learned all the different factors that influence it. So influenced by oxygen uptake, and that's going to be influenced by your red blood cells. It's also going to be influenced by oxygen delivery, and that's going to be influenced by your cardiac output, and that's a function of your heart rate and stroke volume. And it's also going to be influenced by oxygen use, and that's going to be influenced by a whole bunch of factors like your muscle fiber type, and it's going to be influenced by metabolic factors as well. Metabolic factors like aerobic glycolysis and like aerobic oxidation. I hope this puts everything into perspective for you. I hope that you have a better appreciation of where endurance fits into your overall MMA performance, and know that we have all sorts of content available to help you improve your endurance. We have step-by-step courses for improving your endurance and creating a whole periodized training plan that's evidence-based for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and 12 months. Just have a look online, you'll find that. We have content for flexibility. We don't cover tactics and we don't cover skill because that's something you have to work on with your coach and your training partners. There's information that we have on sports psychology, on nutrition, on strength and power, and agility. So we hope that all of this information that we have, it will serve as a resource for you to ultimately improve your performance inside the cage. So that's it. We've gone through the whole course, and you should be pretty proud of yourself because not many people stick it through to the end, and you did, so well done. But now you need to apply this stuff. So make sure you go back, you pull out the relevant information and apply it and use it to improve your performance. And if it works for you, share it with your training partners. Go and coach other people through this stuff. Share it with your coach. So that's it for me in the MMA Training Bible. I hope you found it useful, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.